If you found this video on my website, you are probably either A, tired of failing quizzes, B, tired of procrastinating, or C, spending too much time studying and not learning enough. So if you watch this quick video, I'm going to show you some tips and tricks to show you how to master more content in less time. If you are an AP student in any one of my classes, then you know that you have to read. There's just no other way around it. Reading the text is just part of the AP experience. I wish there was another shortcut, but there's not. So the first thing to do when you are assigned a chapter in your textbook is to figure out how many pages you have and how many days you have to read it. Procrastination is your enemy, and you will have to fight against it throughout your entire high school and college career and life. So if you have 30 pages to read and you have 3 days, then obviously you would try to read 10 pages a night, and that's it. And so this applies to both the A-Push textbook and the AP Gov textbook. If you can break down your reading into little sections and chunks, you're going to retain a lot more, and it also helps to write things down. The next thing you want to do is isolate yourself. Get away from your friends, get away from distractions, and open up your book and make sure you've got your pen handy, your notebook, and maybe set a time limit. So you're only going to study, you're only going to read for an hour tonight. So that way you can get back to your life and the things that you want to do outside of school. This was a failed invention around the turn of the century called the isolator, which was supposed to help people focus on what they were doing and not be distracted. So if people were struggling with distractions 100 years ago, then clearly this is something that's part of the human condition. The next thing you want to do is turn off your devices, your iPad, your phone, because we have a tendency to think that we can take better notes if we type them out. Now, if you're in my class, you know that you can only use your notes on quizzes if they're handwritten. Research has shown that you may be able to type faster than you can write, but you're going to retain more if you simply write down things rather than typing. When you write down, you're synthesizing information into important pieces rather than just trying to write down everything. I see this all the time in class. Students getting frustrated because I move forward on slide. You can always go back and get the slides online, but you want to be attentive to what a professor, a teacher, or a lecturer is saying rather than all the words on the screen. Some professors in college won't even have slides. They'll just talk, and you're just expected to take notes and contribute to the discussion. So, like I said, turn off your devices, turn them off, get them out of your room, and try not to succumb to the fear of missing out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a look at the just a random chapter in the A-Push textbook, which is over the first couple decades of the country under the new Constitution. Now you can do the exact same thing in your AP Gov textbook. They do a very good job of breaking it up into sections. So what I would advise you to do is to either come into my room and get some copies of the note-taking template I have, or make your own, and I'm going to show you what those look like. This is a template that I made in order to help students study more effectively. I took the Cornell system of notes and just modified it a little bit, and I'm going to show you how you should use it. One of the reasons I made this video is because I've explained this tutorial dozens of times, so I figured it would be easier if there was a permanent place for this that you could come back to and reference. So I've got the A-Push text over here, and I have the AP US Government text right here. So here's what I advise students to do. So in your notes, so you would have chapter 7 here, and if it's government, you have chapter 12. You put it right here. And you notice here in the A-Push book, it has different sections of the text chunked for you, right? The political crisis of the 1790s, the Republican Empire was born. On the AP Gov textbook, you'll notice it's got 12.1, 12.2, 12.3. So it breaks things down into every section. Okay, so what I've done is I've just taken a section of the chapter, a heading, and I've turned it into just a little bit, I've put it on the left side of my notes over here. So that's what you should do with each section of the book. And what I tell students to do is maybe only give yourself this one page to take notes over this section in your textbook. That way you're not writing 4 or 5 pages of notes and all you're doing is transcribing the text. So then what you want to do, and I'm going to show you this on the next slide, is you think about, look at the section in your text called Political Crisis of the 1790s. And then for each paragraph, what I would tell students to do is make a 1, or come down here in the second paragraph as a 2, or you could do A, B, whatever. So each paragraph here in the text is going to have one big idea that you could go back to quickly. So you focus on the big picture and not the little smaller details. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to look at this one page in the A-Push book and specifically look at this paragraph right here. When you're reading a textbook, you should be very, very attentive to the first sentence. So for example, the author says, at this critical juncture, Thomas Jefferson joined with James Madison to oppose Hamilton's financial incentives. So when you see words like critical juncture, that means that there's something that's important coming up that you should probably pay attention to. And you'll notice here that it gives you some more information that Jefferson charged Hamilton's bank was unconstitutional. So when you look at this entire paragraph, what you want to try to do is synthesize this into one complete thought that you can write down and come back to really quickly. So what I did here is I just went ahead and typed this instead of writing it with a stylus because you wouldn't be able to read it. But out of that one paragraph, what I would write down is TJ believed Hamilton's bank was unconstitutional because it wasn't specifically mentioned in the Constitution. Strict interpretation. That's it. So for that paragraph, I've synthesized it into that one sentence. I think it's important to read and then write. So put your pen down, read, write down the main idea, the big picture. I think you're going to find that you spend a lot less time writing things down. The last piece of advice I would give you is to read the captions for the images. Look at the maps, look at the charts in the text. I know that as a student you're probably going to want to skip this so you can just finish the chapter, but if you'll read these things here, it has tons of important information that is also in the text itself. So for example, this little caption, this picture here talks about the two visions of America of Jefferson and Hamilton. So what it's done is taken lots of different paragraphs and synthesized it into this one succinct caption. So that's all I have for you. Those are my tips and tricks, how to take notes more efficiently, and good luck.